Okay, so I'm gonna read. This one's a lot of reading because I wrote out like this whole thing. So sorry, my reading could use some work, and it may not be the clearest. I think I went back and I edited this a little bit up, but I don't know for sure. So we'll see. At some point in your life, you'll be walking on your journey, and even if you're in a rush or you're taking your time, um, when you come up on a wall that appears in your path, there are only so many options. You can either sit there and do nothing and wait for it to move out of your way, which is very unlikely that that's going to happen for you unless something crazy happens, like an earthquake removes it from your path for you. You know, you're basically relying on pure chance. You could also ignore the wall, basically, and in order to keep moving because you want to keep moving, you don't really care where you go. You know, you're just trying to stay in motion. So you're saying, "Oh, well, I guess I can't walk that way, so I'll just walk this way instead," is what I'm trying to say there. Um, um, you're just gonna run along the wall now. You can do this, and so instead of going through the wall, you just go along the wall. You can do this and also ignore the wall, basically. Um, uh, and that's fine, but you're never going to get where you were trying to go. And maybe you didn't have a direction in the first place, so you don't care, but you're never going to get there. So you just follow the wall because the wall is preventing you from moving any further along your path, and you don't know where the edge of the wall is, even if there is an edge to the wall. So, maybe the wall is one big circle, so you could go all the way around the wall and back to where you started, but you've gone relatively nowhere. You've done all this movement, you've spent all this energy, all this time, staying in motion, and maybe you don't care where you go, but you end up right back where you started in the end. And so, you could go all the way around the wall and back, but you're relatively nowhere. You can't get to your destination, because the wall is still in your way, so you can't move any farther in that direction. So the other thing you can do is remove the wall from your path. When you come across this wall, instead of ignoring it, you realize this wall has stopped your progress, and the only way to continue progressing is to move the wall out of your way. Now, it may not be an easy task to do. You may not have all the best tools for moving this wall, but if you're trying to continue on your path and you want to get to your destination, the wall has got to go. And it's really just a question of how bad do you want it and what are you willing to do to get that wall out of your way. And it's not necessarily that you hate the wall. It's not necessarily that the wall is ruining your life, but you have a destination in mind. You've got somewhere you want to be, and this wall is in your way, and you're never going to get there if you don't remove it. So, you keep walking, and you make sure that, as you're walking, make sure that you're prepared for any walls that come into your path, and don't be afraid to remove them. I will say that if there's a wall in your way and it's a stone wall and it's rather unmovable, you probably don't want to punch it with bare fists. So you may want to take a few steps back and get some tools like a pick or a shovel or something that's going to help you remove this wall. I mean, a shovel probably isn't going to be very helpful on a stone wall, but it is like but if it's like a dirt mound, I mean, maybe, I don't know. But if you think you should get like a jackhammer or something to remove the wall, but to get the jackhammer, that's going to be a lot of work because that's going to mean you need power for the jackhammer and you need something to provide the power and such. So, that's going to be a lot of work to get that all there and, get that all set up. So maybe a pick is going to be good enough for what you need to do. But, what I'm trying to say is you got to remove the wall, make sure you have the right tools, and be resourceful. All right, so that's a lot of stuff. Basically, to boil that all down, as you go through life, there are obstacles that will get in your way. And your options are to do nothing and just your path stops. You give up on going any farther. You say, oh, there's something blocking my way. That's it. That's it. I'm going to stay right here. This is as far as I go. Or you could just try and move around the obstacles. But if it's like something like a river, right? Say, imagine it's a river. Or it's an ocean or something, and you're trying to walk, this way, and you're saying, my path is blocked by this thing. Trying to walk around it is potentially not feasible. It's not possible. There's no way to get to the other side by just walking around it. Maybe that works. Maybe you could keep walking around the side and eventually the wall ends and, there you go. Now you're back on your path. But you're going to go way out of your way to do that. And that's not necessary, right? You don't need to do all of that time walking and stuff to get past this wall or this obstacle. There is a potentially better method for getting across or getting through. And so your final option basically is to remove this obstacle from your path or find a way to get through it or around it or over it without having to go way out of your way to do it. And so what I was trying to say with the whole jackhammer thing is like, yes, everyone's like, oh, well, this problem would be solved if I had $1 million, right? Because, it's with $1 million, you can solve a lot of problems. But to get that $1 million, you're going to have to do a lot of extra work to get that, right? And, do you really need $1 million to solve the problem you're working on? Potentially, no, right? Say it's like you need to pass an exam. Getting $1 million is not going to help you pass the exam. Maybe you could use that $1 million to pay for classes and like study programs to pass this test. But did you need $1 million for that? No, you did not. So, it's just don't go way out of your way and tell yourself, well, I need a jackhammer to get through this when, a pick would be fine, or even just get a ladder, maybe get a ladder and you can just climb over the wall, right? That might be the most efficient method that I, thought about while I was reading it. Pretty much what I'm saying is you can't be afraid. Like if you sit there and do nothing, then you can do that. That's fine. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong, but you will not, you're not going anywhere if that's the case. And, that's fine if you didn't care. If you're not trying to get anywhere, then, that's fine. But if you've got goals, if you've got a destination you're trying to get to, if you've got like a vision of where you need to be, then, that's not going to work because the wall is not going to move itself. And like I said, unless you're just waiting for pure chance to do it. And I'm not saying that can't happen. I'm just saying that relying on pure chance to work in your favor is typically not the best way to go about things, right? So instead, what you could do is maybe, track back a little bit. And, maybe there's some woods or something and you can go grab some sticks or whatever and, like I said, build this ladder. Or you could go back to the nearest town or whatever and see if you could get some tools. Or maybe you just have tools on you, so you just get to work right away, right? You got the tools, and so you just get to work right away at removing this wall or getting over this wall. And I just think that it's important to be resourceful because depending on what you do, the more resourceful you are, the more solutions you have available to you. If the only way you can think of to get through this wall is a jackhammer, right? Obviously, you're going to feel like you're never going to get to this wall because getting the jackhammer to where you are could potentially take, maybe you're really far away from the nearest town and they don't have any like power or anything and you need like a like, you just need a lot of equipment for that. And that's the only way you can think about getting through this wall, but it's not the only way, right? Like I said, you could use a ladder. You could use a ladder, and you think you need a jackhammer to break down this whole entire wall, and all you needed was to build a ladder to just climb over it. You don't need to remove the wall. You just need a way to get past it. And so, you know, potentially in the future, you could come back and you can bust down the wall so that other people don't need to climb over it themselves. But, you know, that's not the concern right now, I guess. So, what I am saying is that the more resourceful you are, the more, options you have for getting through whatever comes your way. And so basically, the more you know, the easier it's going to be. And something that may be, you know, the end of the line for someone, they say, this is as far as I go, there's no way I pass this, right? For you is, you know, a walk in the park. You know, say someone comes across a stream and they're like, I can't get through this. There's no way I'm passing this stream, right? And it's just all you got to do is jump over it. Right? But you've got to have the confidence that you can make it. Or maybe you make like a pole and you kind of pole vault over it, right? And so something that seems completely uncrossable to one person is of no issue to you. And that's just because you're more resourceful, you're more prepared, you know more, and you're ready for whatever comes your way. And I think that having that kind of mentality and trying to be that, you know, person that is constantly moving forward, constantly finding solutions, and you don't need to be in a constant rush, but constantly making progress, or, you know, working on a way to make progress, because sometimes you come up against a wall, right? And you're not going to just immediately get right over it. It's going to take a little bit of time. And just because you're not moving forward doesn't mean you're not making progress, right? Just because, you know, you didn't get over the wall yet doesn't mean that you're wasting time, because, you know, you got to spend time making that ladder. But as soon as the ladder's made, boom, you're over that wall and you're out of there, right? And so, it's just, like, one, it's the mindset. Two, it's being resourceful. And, three, it's just having, I guess, you know, vision, having some goals, having a destination of where you want to be. Because, you know, as fun as it is to just enjoy, you know, the journey and see what comes your way, it's also fun to achieve your dreams and make the reality you want, you know, real. You want to make your dream reality the actual reality. And, you know, that's an enjoyable experience. And so, yeah, I think that's probably it. All right. Peace out.